live on That Sewing Blab by the lovely Dawn and Maria, and we talked about pretty much everything sustainability, secondhand shopping, using thrifted items in your projects, where to get all of these wonderful items that I seem to score. And yeah, we busted a bunch of myths as well about earth-friendly topics. So grab a cup of tea, have a seat, and enjoy the interview.
Hi everyone, and welcome to That Sewing Blab. We're at episode 158, and today we're interviewing Sherry, the Refashionista.
Yes, we're very, very excited. Sherry from Confessions of a Refashionista. So we're absolutely thrilled to have her join us this evening. Sherry is a very, very, very interesting woman. As soon as you meet her, you just want to talk to her for hours. She's just fascinating, very knowledgeable, very lovely. She shares her knowledge with everyone, which is great. Here she is.
Hi. Hello.
We're just trying to make sure if somebody hasn't seen you before, they understand the amazing work that you do. You're eco style warrior. She's got, goodness me, ebooks. She's got tutorials.
Nearly 1,500.
Yep. 200
amazing.
Over 200 videos on her YouTube channel. Like, she's got a substantial, essentially a library, a body of work all around being sustainable, and a lot on thrifting. And I think it's really good, because when you think thrifting, sometimes you only think of the really narrow kind of thing. But Sherry definitely makes sure you see all the different aspects to it, and you can find your little niche in there that makes you comfortable. Right. I think the first thing we should discuss before we do anything else is talk about what Sherry says is kind of her kind of definition, because I think this is it's just brilliant myself. Eco-fashion upcycling warrior who firmly believes that fabulous, affordable, unique style can be achieved by anyone without supporting the growing phenomenon of unethically produced products in fashion.
It's true. It's true.
And I also love that she says, reusing what you already have in your closet, shopping pre-loved, and refashioning are a marvelous start to a wardrobe full of truly unique, and that's very important, truly unique, sustainable fashion that reflects your own unique style. When I read that, I thought, goodness me, she's just, that completely describes what she's doing. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, Sherry.
Well, thank you for having me back, because like last time it wasn't long enough. We could have talked forever.
Exactly. Of course. Oh my goodness. Tell us about your sewing story as a start.
Well, I am kind of a unique little flower, I guess.
Yeah.
The fact that I didn't grow up sewing. I didn't have, the lovely mom or grandma that taught me how to sew, and I've been sewing since I was 7. None of that. I actually spectacularly failed home ec in high school. When they used to force the girls to take sewing and cooking, and the boys took the really cool industrial arts. I mean, come on. And so I failed spectacularly. So I never touched a sewing machine again, because that teacher was very mean. And let this be a lesson to teachers out there. Be kind to your students. That's and right. Don't yell and call them names, because it really does affect them. I didn't touch a machine again until I was in my late 30s. When I was living in Berlin, and I inherited my husband's great aunt's ancient, heavy, clunky, privileged German sewing machine. It was like a 1940s, 50s, terrifying metal thing. There it is. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And it weighed so much. And when I started to sew with it, it was terrifying, and I stopped immediately because it was like, I mean, I thought it was going to eat me, and really. But then I started, going through my closet and thinking, nothing ever fits me right, because for some reason clothing manufacturers think that should be 8 feet tall, right? We should have no chest whatsoever.
No curves, no nothing.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes. So I just started with really simple projects, and to shorten pants and to try to let out some shirts. And my friends in Germany were like, "Hey, that looks really cool. You just put some fabric panels in that blouse, and you should start a blog, and you should share, and you should." And so I went, "Okay," and the rest is history. I mean, as with anything, I anyway, my husband says I'm a bit of an overachiever, but
That's why he married you.
yeah, right,
Come on.
but I just, I taught myself how to sew on this ancient machine, and I just never looked back. It was something that I guess it was in me all the time. I've always done creative things, and I'm really regretting now that I allowed this feeling that I got from this teacher and this horrible experience in high school to have held me back from sewing, for so long. So let that be a lesson to everyone. Just because you have a bad experience, don't stop. Keep going. Really.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's brilliant advice. And what I picked up, and we scratched the surface last time we talked with you, really.
Yeah.
But we never got to talk about the fact that you've lived in a lot of different countries as well. And I think it's important to note, because I think it actually shapes the woman you are today, including your refashioning and how you see
100%.
sustainability and everything. So we do have a couple photos here of some of the countries that you've lived in. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about each one.
Well, when I was in my very, very early 20s, I managed to get a super lucky modeling contract. My big dream in life was to be an actor. And so as an offshoot of that, most actors, you do some modeling on the side and, while you're struggling. And I got a lucky contract to Japan. And it was only supposed to be for 3 or 4 months. And I ended up staying there for more than a few years.
That's amazing. It's really good.
Because I guess, I did my job. I learned the language very quickly. That's something my brain seems to work in such a way that I can pick up languages quite quickly. So yay.
Yay for you.
Yeah. But I think, again, it's also that part of me that just says, just do it. If you're learning a language, when you go to the supermarket, practice it. The local people love it if you're trying to speak their language, and then you learn. And I often asked people, help me out. What am I doing wrong? Where should my verb and adjective be in the sentence? You can't be shy when you're in a foreign country. It's great. And you don't have to be yourself. Yeah. So from there, after my time in Tokyo came to an end, I moved on to London, England, where I actually taught English to Japanese students, which was hilarious.
Oh my God, that's good. What a turnaround.
I know. So I did that to pay my bills while still trying to be an actor. And I also sang in a pub band, and I did stand-up comedy. And then, of course, I didn't get the fame and fortune I desired there. And on a whim, basically decided, hey, I'm going to move to Greece.
Okay.
So I did. And, that's the great thing when you are in Europe. It's very easy to go, especially to EU countries. It's lovely. And so there I started my own bilingual entertainment magazine for the island that I lived on. And I believe we put out nearly 60 issues. And it was bi-monthly, so it came out twice a month, and it was in Greek and in English, and again, another language, of course, I learned, and because I was writing a magazine.
That's so impressive. Seriously, that many issues twice a month.
Well, I mean, again, overachiever.
Of course.
And again, got to pay the bills, so it was a lot of hustling to get advertisers, and yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing. When you do live in a different country, people who are, contacting you through Facebook, whatever, your friends back home. I mean, I don't think of Canada really as my home anymore because I lived abroad for over 22 years. But, they think for some reason like it's a holiday. Like, oh, you live in Greece, you must go to the beach every day. It's like, well, no,
I got to work.
Yeah, I got to pay my bills. So that's what I did there for nearly 5 years.
Yep.
And then I got itchy feet again, as I call it, and moved on to Berlin, Germany. And there I first had a textile design and print company with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and yes. So I took my graphic design skills and created a bunch of designs, and then we printed them on stuff and sold it. And then it was during that time that I inherited the sewing machine and started the blog and the channel and everything else. So, yeah. And now here we are. Yeah.
Do you miss any of those countries or that lifestyle that you were leading at the time?
I mean, yeah, of course I miss things about every different country. I think the things I miss are a lot like the cultural things that I found very that I adapted to. And so then each time I moved to a different country, there was a whole new set of social rules that I had to adapt to and learn. And I think, again, like Dawn said, there's so many things that I carry with me now, from each of these countries. And I think that hopefully I've taken all of the good things with me.
Oh, you have.
And again, it's made me a very strong woman, and I really, really hope that I am setting a very good example for my daughter now, and to show her, she can do anything she wants to do, regardless of your age or your gender, your size, your shape, your anything, Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a great message. Very inspiring. And from talking with you, I find it very interesting, like some of the things that, like growing up in Canada, there's probably a lot of things that I don't really know that they do it in different countries. So in regards to sustainability, like you were saying, was it once a month they like put stuff out on their front lawn, like couches or whatever, clothing that you might not want? And then in Germany, it's not just that you can put an ad on, in the free site type of thing, which we often did, but you can also put things out, and then people can take them. If they don't take them, you take them back. You don't leave them there for the trash to take, like they do in so many other countries. Returning to Canada after over 22 years living in quite sustainable, eco-friendly countries, I am so shocked and dismayed. First, at just the amount that people throw out and what they throw out. Like my house is, I'd say, about 90% furnished from trash that people threw out. That I, bring it home, and sometimes it's just something that needs a good clean, like a table or something. Other times I upcycle it into something else completely different, or just kind of spruce it up with some paint or fabric. But it's really sad that a first world country that has so many resources and supposedly so many intelligent people, these intelligent people are just chucking and chucking and chucking, and you just go, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. There's always somebody who will want it. There always is, and putting an ad on the local free app or the local free website, Craigslist, I think Kijiji here, eBay has it in Europe. They have their own Kleinanzeigen, it's called in Germany, and just put it on for free. Someone will come and take it away, because they want it. Don't chuck out a sofa. That's what?
Yeah, makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely a consumeristic, like very consumeristic society. The make do and mend generation is gone. Even
Yeah.
we were cleaning out a house and my brother was throwing like instead of bringing it downstairs and taking somewhere that would a thrift store was a set of drawers, he threw it off the top story of the house and let it smash so he could put it in
destroyed.
So we could put it in the dumpster. You know, I kind of threw my brother under the bus there, but nonetheless, things like that. Whereas I like to go to those thrift stores and like I got this cool little metal table and all it needed was some spray paint, literally spray paint and some little sticky things to make sure the glass top wouldn't move, you know, like get them.
Yep.
And I had a barbecue and everyone's like, oh, that's such a nice table. You know, I'm like, yep, we got it from the thrift store. You know?
Exactly, yeah. Well, yeah, when people see my house and go, oh, that is such a beautiful vintage cabinet. So, yeah, I got it. It was outside down the street. You know, I just sanded it and that's it. You know, it was free. And, but you could sell it. And I don't want to sell it.
No, you want to keep it. That's why you picked it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So, yes, we definitely need to talk about your blog and your YouTube channel because we can't even, you just can't describe everything that's on there. Like, I'm not kidding. There's so many posts. Was it like over 1,600 posts that you've made with tutorials, tips, things that inspire you?
Articles,
like, yeah, the epic Stranger Things
oh yes,
lookalike series you just did. Oh,
my thrifty celeb copycats, yeah.
It's so much fun when you see them.
But yeah, I started that because, again, coming back to North America and seeing, you know, that really people, they see something on TV and they want it. And then they get it and they wear it once and they literally throw it out. Just like, what are you doing? And you see all of these fast fashion mall stores, although designers aren't much better as for ethical production practices. But it just made me weep inside, basically. So I thought, you know what? I betcha I can put together some pretty awesome looks using either only what I have in my closet or items from the thrift store and copy what these celebs are wearing. And I did. For, you know, some of these outfits, literally, I had all the pieces and I inherited it, like the Jennifer Aniston red suit. That was actually hanging in the closet with a bunch of other fabulous vintage clothes when I moved into my house. The people that left just left a bunch of awesome vintage clothes of the person that died.
Wow.
I was like, well, I'll take them. Cool.
Help them out. Just help them out.
I am, definitely, yeah. And, so, and that, you know, it was a very close copy to the $10,000 suit that Jennifer Aniston is wearing, you know, in the picture. And, people like them so much, they've gone viral more than a few times, my looks. And then, of course, I had to do Stranger Things, and I did nearly all the characters. Yeah.
It was very clever. And I do think that tells you something, not only about your thrifting, but about how your brain works. You, like you said, you're an overachiever. You are doing lots, but you're also, you do have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. You know,
for sure, yeah.
Trends and thrifting, things on TV, like, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I think as well, doing things, I mean, like, because I did male characters too. I didn't just, you know, dress up like,
Yes, saw those.
And I think that's the other thing too, you know, like I said before, you can never be afraid to kind of put yourself out there. And I come from a background of acting and comedy. And so throwing on a makeup mustache, you know, with the mascara and all of this, that's hilarious for me. I much prefer to do those kind of looks, like dressing up like Billy, but then having this big chest in the tank top. I mean, that, like, with the mustache and the black eye and hello. I mean, it's, So,
I'm the look. So that was it. You aimed it.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of your videos too. You do characters in them. So
I
I mean,
do.
you have a very serious message, but you give it in a very light-hearted way, but still educational. So I mean, your video when you're talking about how people could support you to share your eco message, that was fantastic. Or even when you're doing videos on, you know, kind of busting myths on thrifting, you know, like you become these characters, these people, and your accents are spot on. I mean, I'm not an expert, but they sound pretty great.
Well, that's the thing, because for the busting thrifting myths video, I've met these people. Like this is real. These are actually the people who said the things to me. You know, so I think, and in some ways, it's also my little kind of to get back at them, right? Like, hey, I'm becoming you. So, yeah, because I mean, speaking of myths about secondhand, one of the greatest things I think you can ever say to someone who is kind of like, oh, secondhand is so gross. Oh, no. Ask them if they ever go to a restaurant. And if they say yes, then say, do they think that the cutlery that they put in their mouth is brand new for every single customer? Or perhaps are they putting something in their mouth that was maybe 20 minutes before in a stranger's mouth? Right? So
That's really good thinking.
So perhaps getting a dress secondhand that you can take home and wash, and you know it's clean because you washed it with your own hands, right?
Yeah.
Instead of in a restaurant, you don't know what's going on in that kitchen if someone's just going, right? And then stretching it out again.
Which would never happen.
Oh, I'm sure.
No.
None of the restaurants I worked in when I was a starving actor ever did that. No, please. And I think that's the other thing too. Anyone who ever has worked in the service industry kind of thinks this way as well, because we know, you know, what goes on behind the scenes. And another good one is to ask them if they've ever stayed in a hotel, because that's even kind of grosser when you think where the towels have been.
Oh, yep. Nope.
Oh, okay then.
I mean, that is something that I won't buy secondhand, are towels, just specifically for that reason, because no thanks. Like, I don't want to think about what it has wiped. So, yeah.
I think what's really cool is like busting that myth about it being dirty or smelly. Even if you did find something that was a little smelly, I've had things that are musty because I tend to kind of lean towards vintagey type stuff.
Yeah,
so sometimes it's a little bit musty.
Yeah.
But you have fantastic tips on your website, but also like I've got the Sustainable Lifestyle Handbook of yours. Like I bought that last time, and it is fabulous. I'm going to do some of those things. I can't believe I haven't been doing them earlier. Even in your, oh yes, we have to mention this too, the brand new book you're working on, you even go into it in depth as well. So
there's a whole chapter about cleaning and laundry.
Not great.
Yeah, and it's all sustainable. It's all eco-friendly, these cleaning and laundry tips. There's not one tip in there that's using harsh chemicals. It's all using stuff that you probably already have in your kitchen, or you could easily get for, you know, $1 or $2 at the supermarket. So, yeah. But that is something else that is also very frustrating to me is people don't seem to realize that we're washing our clothes too much. And we're using too many chemical detergents. And I mean, again, we all grew up with those soap commercials and detergent commercials, and I'm sure they're still out there, but I don't have cable TV. So, and so I don't know. But those chemicals are horrible. They're not only horrible for the environment, they're horrible for your clothes, you know? And then when people are there and washing, you wear a t-shirt once, right? As long as there's no stains on it and it doesn't actually stink, you don't need to wash it. You don't need to wear something once and then wash it unless there's a reason to wash it, right? If you're super sweaty, awesome, wash it. But you know, sometimes, you put on a shirt or something, you wear it for a couple hours, to go out to dinner or something. You don't spill anything on it. Do the armpit sniff check. And if it's okay, hang it back up. You don't need to waste the water. You don't need to use the chemicals. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do have here a cover of some of your ebooks that people can find. $3 for quite a few pages. Very good. And including your brand new, like literally brand new,
Today, released today. Yes. 225 pages of refashioning tutorials, sustainable tips and tricks, and just everything of sewing. I mean, how to sew, everything you could possibly need to create your own fabulous, unique wardrobe, care for it, find it at the thrift store even, or in your own closet. It's all there. It's all in there.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow.
I've had a look at the book, just to be perfectly transparent. Sherry sent me a copy, and not because Sherry's here, but because I think I've been thinking more and more about these things as well. You know, my footprint in this world. And I really, really enjoyed the book. I thought it was very good. Like even just the section on washing the clothes from the thrift store. I think that's good for washing any of my clothes. I'm really excited about that. Upsizing, downsizing, there's sew projects, no sew, repairing, alterations, embellishment, distressing, how to spot vintage clothing, everything from tops, bodysuits, skirts, pants, outerwear, like it's like amazing.
You literally can make an entire, 50 years worth of wardrobes from this one book. Really, it's got everything. And I mean, even shoes, right? Shoes, accessories, and plus what you can do with all of the leftover scraps as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So I really tried hard to make this, kind of like a uni course, hence the name Refashioning 101, right? It's really everything that you could possibly want, need, or desire, I hope. Yeah.
And I think it's important to note, we have some very talented people in the sewing community, and Sherry is one of these people. She's done everything in this book. Like, this is scary, like this isn't,
no
she had an
publisher,
idea.
no designer, no. I'm everything. Photographer, the model.
Multi-talented.
Yes, you need to give yourself like a huge pat on the back.
Yeah. But such is life with, kind of online and working online. It's the same with you guys. You kind of do everything yourselves too, right? There's no camera people or editors or anything. We have a huge variety of skills that we must learn.
We're our own team doing everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And on my site, I do actually have a whole section called Behind the Scenes of Blogging for anyone who is interested in knowing what does go on behind the scenes. And I have everything from, and it's brutally honest, like it's super honest because that's just me. And yes, everything from the actual money I make, which is not a lot. It's not even enough to pay for 1 year of my domain name from my site. So, and everything in between that, all the stuff you have to learn. Yeah. So again, that's a really good thing to check out as well if anyone's curious about what goes on behind the scenes of working online. So.
And as always, we have the links to get the book if you're interested in the book, to the website, to our YouTube channel.
Right.
And I am, of course, also all over social media on, Instagram and Confessions of a Refashionista Facebook page. And I share tips and tutorials multiple times in a day over across my social media as well. So, yeah, lots of good free stuff going on.
That's great.
And Maria, you've seen her not on through her website. The main place you've seen her is different.
Yep. So I follow you on Facebook and also on Instagram. So when the videos come up, I have a look, and they're always informative and so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that is something that I was a teacher for quite a few years, and I find that, and again, everybody can probably have the. Sorry.
Start again?
Losing my train of thought, and a different language was just about to come out. So,
If it was Greek, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I would have loved it.
Polioria.
And that's
Yeah. So, okay. So because I was a teacher for so long, and everybody had that one teacher, maybe in high school or maybe when you were a bit younger, that was fun in class, who taught in a really entertaining manner. And you remembered, you did well in that class. It was enjoyable. You looked forward to it. And so because of my years of teaching, and that's how I taught, in the most enjoyable way. I actually was characters in my class. I would show up as characters, and my students were always like, "Mike, what is this?" But they always did well on their tests. Always.
Yeah.
And so I find that presenting my videos, my social media posts, my blog tutorials, my books in a fun and entertaining manner, it sticks here, doesn't it? And you remember it the next time you're shopping. Hey, maybe I shouldn't go to that fast fashion store. Maybe I'll go take some of the tips that I discovered over to the thrift store today, right? Or the next time you're doing laundry, or, whatever. It sticks in the head. So, yeah.
So we've got a question from Lorianne. Do you want to have a look at that one? Sorry. Lorianne has asked, do you go to thrift stores to purchase fabric?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
Yeah.
I actually, everything I do is without patterns, by the way. So I don't use patterns ever.
Yep,
I
you
can't.
mentioned that last time, yep.
Yes, I can't. So when I do buy fabric, though, it is always secondhand, always from the thrift stores, because I am a very, very sustainable, eco-friendly lassie. And I think a lot of people don't seem to realize this, but just as fast fashion and unsustainable, unethical fashion is produced, in terrible factory conditions, so is the fabric. The fabric that you get at these big famous fabric stores, brand new, is produced in the exact same way as the fabric that is produced to make the garments that go to the fast fashion store. So buying secondhand fabric means you are not supporting any of that at all. And it would be really great if more sewists would kind of realize this and stop plunking down your money on these. They're very overpriced as well. When you think about the cost of fast fashion is very, very cheap, how come the fabric, the stores mark it up so much? So they make a bigger profit. But still, it's the factory workers that are, bearing the brunt of the kind of corporate greed and the greed of the consumer in these first world countries. So yes, I absolutely do buy secondhand fabric, and vintage bed sheets and vintage tablecloths are like my favorite, because always they have the most beautiful embroidery on the doilies and the tablecloths, and where are you going to get that? Unless you do it yourself. Plus, that someone maybe, 30, 40 years ago put so much love and attention, and it's just beautiful when you think about the story maybe behind it, and then you take it home, wash it, and you transform it into something else, just as beautiful. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Lorianne, for that question.
Yes. And I think, like, for people who aren't keen to go to a thrift store, shopping your own closet is great, because sometimes you'll make something, and like as sewists, when you make something, your sweat and tears go into that garment, and then years later it might not fit, or maybe the styles have changed, and instead of throwing it out, you can exchange it. Like you talked about doing thrift exchanges with friends. Or you could also use it to make another garment, whether it's a completely different garment or if you're upsizing or downsizing. And you have lots of tutorials that discuss upsizing and downsizing as well.
Yeah. Well, in particular, upsizing, I seem to be one of the very few people online who actually provide upsizing tutorials. And I receive emails every single day from people saying, thank you so much, because I don't know, everybody goes and buys big stuff, And sorry, but making something big smaller isn't that it's not that much of a trauma to do that. It's not. To make something bigger usually means you got to add something to it, right? And I think that, for myself, like I said, I mean, I have quite an hourglassy figure, and nothing, even, thrift stores, of course, regardless of where you get it, nothing ever fits me off the rack properly. So if something fits me in my bottom, then it's not going to fit me in my waist. Or if it fits me kind of under my chest, I can't get it done up over my chest. And so I think the upsizing tutorials are very, very important, and which is why I included a bunch in my book. And there's also a bunch available on my site. And sometimes all it takes is removing an elastic waist to upsize something. Like, that's it. Which, that's no sewing, that's nothing.
So simple.
Yeah, just carefully removing with your little, seam ripper, take off that elastic waist, and you have a lovely dress. Put a belt on and head out. I shared that actually a few weeks ago on my channel, a little old lady nightgown that had kind of a elastic empire waist, and took that out and ironed the creases and threw a belt on, and now it's a fabulous maxi dress that I can wear in the summer from a very old nightgown.
That's so simple, yeah.
Yeah.
And that shows your creativity, such a simple solution, and you've got a fabulous maxi dress.
Well, yeah, and that's the lovely little tiny thrift store that I go to that's in my neighborhood that is still a genuine thrift store, or a charity shop, I guess. All of the money goes to the animal shelter, and there's no clothes in there over $2, and all of the linens and stuff are like 50 cents, which is how it should be. They should be selling cheaper to get more out the door, instead of, hey, let's put 10-15% of our donations on the floor, and we chuck a good 50%, and the rest we give to the vintage pickers and antique sellers for a higher markup. That's ridiculous, because people think they take a garbage bag full of clothes and they think, hey, all of this is going to get sold. It's all going to go to someone who needs it or whatever. And that is absolutely not the case. Most of the time, the bulk of it does end up in the landfill, when you donate to these big thrift stores. But yeah, this little thrift store of mine, they know me now because I go there so often, and they actually will hold things for me.
There you go.
That's how I got this nightgown. The lady said, "Oh, Sherry, I have this. Do you want this? It's no one's going to buy it. It's purple and pink flowers." And I was like, yes, of course I want it. Of course, the 1970s nightgown, woohoo! So yeah, get to know your local little thrift store staff, and you just might get some fabulous deals. And once they know what you want, you can even ask them when they're picking through to set some stuff aside for you, and then you get a bag of stuff for $5 or $10. So everybody wins.
Everyone wins. That's right.
Yeah.
I've even gotten 3 sewing machines.
Wow.
We have some lovely places in the area. I keep saying to Sherry, you should come visit. We're both in Canada, so I'm trying to tempt her up this way.
Eventually, when my book sells however many it's going to cost for me to get to you.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy thrifting. Now with me, I often find a fabric, like this is a red linen, it had a collar buttoned down the front kind of dress.
Yeah.
And so I find a fabric I like, and then I go home and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I know that the fabric is really lovely and cool, but it doesn't fit me, and I know I'm going to do something. And then I end up coming up with something I never would have, if I just sketched it, I never would have made. So I'm curious with you, is it the garment first? Is it the fabric? Do you have an idea when you go in what you're looking for?
I always have a list on my phone. It's just like a perma list for things that I just have, creeping in my brain. that are saying, make me. So I have this list of ingredients, I call them, that I'm always looking for. So most recently, I would like to get a 1980s big puff sleeve kind of prom dress or bridesmaid's dress to refashion. That's my next big goal too, because I have a really cool idea. So, other than my list, a lot of the times, and in some thrift stores, I get really weird looks. I kind of run my hands down the racks as I'm walking in between the clothes. And if some fabric kind of feels cool to me, or I've gotten really good at, kind of feeling out 70s, 60s polyester type of fabric, then I stop and look. And so that's my first pass. And then my second pass, I turn around at the other end, and then I look down one side and see if anything jumps out at me fabric-wise. And I think really it is mostly the fabric, because I do know that even if it doesn't fit, I can turn it into something else, as long as, I love the fabric. So, yeah. And vintage neckties are absolutely fantastic, because you can use them. First of all, the patterns are wonderful, and whatever you do with it is you're creating something totally unique, and no one will have ever seen it before. So I like to take them and stitch them around the collars of shirts, of blazers. I mean, it looks fantastic. The little scraps of them look really cool on the top of a pocket. Or, you sew two of them. Here's a tutorial from my big book. Sew two of them together, and you make a very, very long Obi-style wrap belt if you sew the ends together. And then wrap it around and tie it. Yeah.
She's just got so many ideas, guys. You have to check out her site, and definitely
it doesn't stop ever.
Yeah, I think what I like about the book is the site is great, but I guess it's a accumulation over time. So you have things here, you have things there, beginner things, intermediate things. Whereas this, it's like beginning, middle, and it has a really nice flow. It pulls it all together very nicely, and is entirely inspiring.
Thank you. And the thing, I mean, some people, they do enjoy going through my blog, but I think if you're going to be there for a few days, like that's, if you want to, and I have tried to organize it as conveniently as possible. At the top bar, it's the tutorial index, and then a bunch of sub-indexes under those, and to make it as easy as possible for people to find things. But yeah, it's still, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot.
But I think having the book of 200 pages, you can go from end to end, and you've pretty much got everything there. So I think, that's such a great resource.
Yeah. And of course, I made even the table of contents, very convenient. You can click on whichever title you want, and you go immediately there. And then at the end of that tutorial, click back to contents, you go back. So, because for myself, I buy other people's ebooks, and I can't stand it when the contents, you can't click it, and to make it easy to go places. And I know you can do it, because I do it for all of my books.
Yeah.
So
it's not that hard.
Be done. And it's when you really have to scroll and scroll and scroll, and then you have to try to remember, where did I see that? And so I write books how I want to read books, and I'm a very methodical, organized person. So I like my books to be the same way. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they do meet me and do see my house, and it is very, very neat, very tidy. Everything has a place. And I think I'm a bit of an oxymoron. Is that the right word? It better be. I'm an English teacher. And, where people kind of see me as this quirky, tattoo, chicky. And, but in reality, I am very, very organized and methodical, and things have to be a certain way. And I think, it's those two kind of the yin and yang of my personality, I guess.
You've got discipline behind what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you do.
I mean, I think as well, any creative person has this, right? You have to. You cannot, even if you are a creative person who works in organized chaos, it's still organized.
Right. Still organized.
It is.
Now, normally we'd also ask things like, what do you see in your future? But I know that you're working on, and you've mentioned it on your channel before, you're working on a project. You've written a couple different pitches for shows.
12.
Oh my God.
12
I thought it was
Not just a
5 or
couple,
6.
12.
12.
She's
An
written
even dozen.
a dozen or so. She's written a dozen pitches for possible shows for like Netflix. Hello.
Please.
About thrifting. And I think that would be amazing. I would definitely watch that. So
not just thrifting, refashioning. I mean, I have game show style. I have, going in and redoing people's closets for them. And you name it. It's there.
Well
And of
done.
course, plenty of characters.
need the characters, yeah.
That's the thing. You have to think, if I do that on my own, imagine what I could do with professional makeup artists.
I definitely think it would be exceptionally cool because there are kind of like thrift things and furniture wise, but yeah, we haven't really seen clothing where they're embellishing, thrifting, upsizing, downsizing, refashioning, just
or
doing that with clothing.
Or any makeover shows you see, they're always, here's a credit card, go shopping, consume more. It's like, no, how about using what they already have?
Yeah, exactly.
And reimagining that. I don't want to give too much away, but
you've got a whole pool of resources in your own home, so why wouldn't you use them?
Exactly. And who wouldn't want to watch that? This is always what it's so interesting to me that in Europe there's so many shows about upcycling and redoing just about anything you can imagine, and they're very, very popular. There are a couple available on streaming services in North America, but they're not so popular, which drives me up the bend. But that's why I wonder if one of the reasons I do have difficulty getting to the right production company is because people are like this here, when it comes to upcycling and reusing, and it's a lot easier just to give someone a credit card and say, hey, go shopping for your makeover, right? So yeah, hopefully someone will see the value in this refashionista. Yeah, call me. Call anyone. They know how to get me.
Yes. I definitely think that it's an idea that you'll hear more and more of in the future as well. So if they don't pick it up today, which what are they thinking? I'm sure they will soon. So if they're really, they must. So it looks like even the audience is excited about that. Megan says a refashioning show with Sherry would be awesome. Wouldn't it, Megan? Wouldn't it? And Samina hopes that there was positive responses to your show pitches. The most positive one is yet to come, and it's going to be fantastic.
Exactly. Yes, there's I have a toe in a door right now, so I just got to see if I can manage to kick it a little wider right now.
And Linda, she's Ontarian. What do you mean when you live in Ontario? Ontarioan?
I think,
she lives in the same province as the two of us. She says it seems like Sherry is someone who lives life to the fullest, like everyone should. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to, get out of my studio more. But yeah, it's like we were saying before, when you're kind of the one woman show, it's you are the show, right?
You are the show. Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone is in Toronto and wants to hang out, or Dawn, if you get here sometime,
I would love that.
Then please do get in touch and let's go thrifting.
That'd be cool.
That would be a fun day.
It would be. Yeah. We do have another audience question too. at Lorianne. Hey, Lorianne. She says, do you also purchase used sewing equipment?
I only have used sewing equipment. I actually have 5 sewing machines, and 4 of them are from Germany, including the terrifying, scary one. And
because that you could do stuff with denim on. I'm sure of it.
oh yeah, you can sew. I mean, you could sew hippo skin. I think it's like
Perfect.
I mean, it's so terrifying. And then, of course, the sewing machine that I use that I got in Canada is from the thrift store. Of course it is. Of course it is. I only use secondhand everything, actually. My thread is secondhand. Like every single thing in my studio is secondhand. So yeah. And that's the thing that I always say to people, if I can do it, so can you. You know, I mean, I'm going to be 46 actually in less than a month. So there's no age limit either, ladies, on changing your habits and changing your life, and you know, yeah.
Samina's interested in knowing where do you get secondhand threads?
Oh, I actually got loads of them when I lived in Germany, and and I'm still working through a bunch of those. But the larger chain thrift stores actually here in Canada actually package up thread and usually sell it for like 99 cents or $1.99, depending on how many threads are in there. And there's usually around 10 threads. Okay. And a lot of people ask me and say, oh, but doesn't it break because it's old? No, I find that vintage threads, if it has stood the test of time already, it doesn't break. You know, if it's something super cheapy, of course it is, but brand new thread that's super cheapy is going to break, right? Online is a wonderful resource for getting things secondhand as well. And again, hit your local thrift stores. Sometimes you go to the thrift store and they actually have sewing baskets that someone has donated with the contents those are my favorite.
Because they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, and you look at and it's like when they have like 3 tiers in them, and it's more and more treasures to go through, and you know, you have these gorgeous vintage bias bindings and trim, and and stuff like buttons and snaps. I mean, come on, you can't do any better than vintage ones because they were 100% built to last. So there's no reason at all to buy brand new sewing gear. There really isn't. And it just, I think, to those people who are maybe a bit hesitant to cut into something you've already made or somebody else has made, why? Just do it. Because what's better, to make it into something else or to donate it? No. Now that you know it's probably not going to end up on the shop floor. And also chucking it, no, that's not an option. You know, so if you're not planning on giving it to someone who will wear it and appreciate it, make it into something else. Why not? What have you got to lose? Nothing. You know, I mean, I make mistakes all the time. I mean, I have not been sewing for that long at all, guys. And if I make a mistake, which happens really a lot, then I just cut it and start over again. Like all the time it happens. So maybe something I don't make a pair of pants out of that bit of skirt fabric, you know, because I cut it too small. Maybe it's a pair of shorts, or maybe it's a shirt for my daughter, or, you know, I mean, you're only ever limited by your own imagination.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And you've got so many ideas happening in your head all the time that if you've gone down one path, you can always switch and go on another path. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, like and if you've cut it and it's just not salvageable, make a bunch of hair scrunchies. They're back.
Yeah, there's always lots of little things that you can do with it. Patch your jeans, or lots of other things.
I just wish that North America would kind of catch up to Europe. But I think another problem is because we have so much space, you know, such big country here that people kind of say, well, we have enough space, check it. It goes into the landfill and who cares? You forget about it. Out of sight, out of mind, you know. But
the urgency's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodness, but looking at the time, we've actually gone a little bit over time looking at it, but it's because that happens when you talk with Sherry, because she's very, very fun to talk to and very interesting. But yeah, I would definitely highly, highly, highly encourage you. Check out her book. She has that one brand new Refashioning 101 book, and she also has all those other books. Fabulous books.
There's like 17 of them, I think.
Yep. And and on all her tutorials, her tips, her tricks on her blog, as well as on her YouTube channel, her like 200 plus videos as well. So lots of content to get you all fired up and inspired to try something. You know, push yourself out of your comfort zone and give it a try. I think you'll really, you'll look back and think, yeah, that kind of was cool.
Yeah.
You're an amazing resource, Sherry.
Well, thank you.
You really are.
I love to hear that.
Anne says thank you for being part of this movement.
Yeah, well, I hope that I can actually, be one of the driving forces behind it, and hopefully get more people realizing that new to you is still new. That's a good one, eh?
I like that.
Maybe part of the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love how you kind of sign off on some of your videos of your zigzag comment. Could you maybe do
I
it for us?
catch you on the zigzag. And do you know why I say that? I say that because when I first started learning to sew, I asked, my husband's great aunt, who gave me this ancient machine, how can I finish the seams? Because they were, fraying and she was at this point, she was like 92. And she just basically was saying, well, zigzag, just zigzag the seams, just zigzag them. So I did. And to this day, because I don't have a fancy serger, I just have, these old vintage thrift store machines. That's how I finish all my seams. So that's my sign off on my videos. Catch you on the zigzag.
That's lovely.
And that was also the title of my first book, Life on the Zigzag.
It's nice getting all this behind the scenes kind of stuff. But I do enjoy it when you say that on your videos. It's kind of, it ties it together nicely.
Yes, well, everybody needs a catchphrase, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So we've definitely taken up far too much of your time. We're gonna let you go, and just thank you. Thank you not once but twice coming on the show.
Well, thanks and again, I will come back again whenever you like to impart my sustainable lifestyle wisdom. Maybe we should do a show all about sustainable tips and tricks and how to live a more eco-friendly.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really good show, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank
Mwah.
you.
Talk again.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Just,
Good on Riley.
yes,
Your daughter.
She's saying, can I put my hand in the video and wave hi to them? Ha, ha, ha. And we have yes or no. So yes, you can put your hand and wave.
Just the hand. Come on. Oh, both hands. Well done. That's the best.
My
ending.
comedian here.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, I hope you both have a good night then. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, you two.